Now that we've got a bit of an understanding of SQL syntax, it's time to move on and start looking at the mechanics of a SQL injection attack. So we're actually going to start to mount this attack against a vulnerable website. So in this module, you're really going to start to understand just how to exploit this risk. Let's move on and take a look at what we're going to cover in this module. One of the first things I want to look at in this module is the three different types of SQL injection. There are actually a number of really fundamentally different approaches that you can take to exploit an injection risk. And it all comes down to what the application is actually vulnerable to. There are some very easy ways of exploiting SQL injection, but oftentimes you'll find the application has got sufficient defenses that you need to use a more advanced technique. So I'm going to talk about what those types are in the next clip. I also want to talk about how we can test for this risk and then also demonstrate how to show that an underlying risk does actually exist. And in fact, we're going to do that with just a single character. Get the right one, and that's all it takes to show that there's an underlying risk in the database. Now, speaking of underlying risks, I also want to show you what the risky code looks like. So what is it in this application that is making SQL injection possible? Clearly something has gone wrong at development time. What does that look like? I'll show you that in this module. And then I'll also talk about what input sanitization is, because that is one of the really important things that's missing when a SQL injection risk is possible. So we're going to talk about not only what input sanitization is, but we're going to look at a whole bunch of different characters that you are going to want to test for when you're looking for potential SQL injection vulnerabilities in an application. So we've got a whole lot to cover in this module. It's really going to start getting into the detail of injection attacks. So let's move on and start looking at those three different types of injection.